Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Thursday night, rather. It's Thursday night, which is why we're early, because we have Thursday night football. In 20 minutes from now, we will talk about the things that have gone on in the past couple of days. We will talk about Calvin Ridley's drops and the desperate measures that this team and Calvin Ridley are going to be able to get the alleged number one wide receiver on this football team up to at least a level of competency that would make him seem like a reliable player, because to this point, Calvin Ridley has very much not been reliable. And we are trying to figure out, both as a society, it's become a larger societal question for you all as a fan base, for us as media, for them as coaches, and for Calvin himself. Just what in the hell is going on here that would cause this man to struggle so mightily with what essentially just seems to be a confidence problem, which is crazy to think about in and of itself. But we're going to talk about Calvin Ridley tonight. You'll hear from Tyke Tolbert, the wide receiver coach. You'll also hear from Nate Washington. In fact, Robert, I may ask you to grab that video of Calvin Ridley that I did not think to grab from yesterday. I believe it's in the A to Z group text at your convenience. If not, I will be able to find it for you and get it to you on Twitter. But it would make sense to hear from Calvin Ridley himself at this point in time. But we've got enough people talking about Calvin Ridley that we don't necessarily need him repeating, "I just need to be better," even though it means more for you to hear it from him as opposed to us saying he needs to be better. So we will work our way through that. We'll do a weekend bounce back. We will enjoy our time together in the comment section, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. It's good to see all of you. We'll see more of you as we get up and rolling here, and then we'll get you out in time to enjoy the Thursday night football between two NFC West teams. In fact, the Titans' next opponent in Arizona after we go to Houston on Saturday. Well, they'll play on Sunday, but I'm going to Houston on Saturday. 3 straight road trips for a team that they could probably beat the Raiders, but I don't know at this point in time, given the issues that they're having. It would be crazy if they came back from a 3-game road trip at 0-6. But given the state of the team, I suppose there are stranger things that could happen at this point. Obviously, as a fan base, you are looking to see more from them, and in order to see more from them, you need Calvin Ridley to catch the damn football. So share the broadcast around wherever you're hanging out with us, and more of y'all will jump in as we get up and rolling, and we'll go ahead and get this thing started. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Thursday night. I'm your host, Buck Rising. It's lovely to have you. And I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by Simon Says Nashville, who is here to help you dress better. SimonSaysNashville.com. In fact, I may pop into Simon Says tomorrow before I hit the road, because I am in need of a few fall items. And if you want to dress better and find some things that you won't find in any other store in Nashville, SimonSaysNashville.com for more details. By Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, or online at TwoRiversFord.com. They've got the Fill a Ford food drive going on for 5 more days technically, as of tomorrow. And you can still participate to help the Second Harvest Food Bank and the Mount Juliet Help Center. Tell you more about that later on. TrueMath Fitness. You guys know I love my TrueMath Fitness Fridays, my Arm Farm Fridays at TrueMath Fitness. They've got me feeling right and looking right. They can do the same for you. Your first workout is free at TrueMathFitness.com for more information today. All right, so we are in a very weird situation with Calvin Ridley. And it's not even that unfamiliar of a situation, because if you recall, when Calvin Ridley signed here on a 4-year, $92 million deal, there was a lot of excitement because the Titans had needs at wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins was still on the roster at the time. And you looked around and said, well, if Calvin Ridley can become this team's second player, or 1B to D-Hop's 1A, or even theoretically 1A to D-Hop's 1B, then you might have something here that is workable. Now, obviously, things did not go to plan, and the Will Levis experiment blew up in their face, and Calvin Ridley was not very effective, and DeAndre Hopkins, very soon thereafter at the Buffalo game, decided that this was no longer the place that he wanted to spend his long and illustrious career, and now he's having We can't say great success because they're 1-2 with Robert's Baltimore Ravens, but obviously D-Hop still has more to give, and he's showing you that every time the Ravens offense takes the field. He's not at the peak of his powers, of course, but you understood that there was the potential there with him coming off a 1,000-yard season in 2023 and Ridley looking, to rebound in a meaningful way and being rewarded and given the security of that big money contract that he was never really able to achieve, given his circumstance in Atlanta that saw him leave the team, the gambling suspension in the 1 year in Jacksonville. But there were cautionary tales about Calvin Ridley in Jacksonville. And obviously the way that things ended with the Falcons was less than reputable. So for all of Calvin Ridley's struggles, you sat there in training camp, or at least we did, and you said, well, it's not nearly as glaring a problem as it was in 2024. Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward seem to have a legitimate connection here. Now, this is routes on air. It's 11 on 11. It's 7 on 7. It's not full contact. It's not live game reps. And Calvin Ridley and Cam Ward were fine in the first preseason game at Tampa Bay. So much so that when Ridley, spoke to the coaching staff about dealing with some physical ailments at the time during the preseason, Brian Callahan, the embattled Titans coach, who is coaching for his job at every point moving forward, as we understand the circumstance there around the coaching staff, Brian Callahan said something to the effect of, well, we know what we have in Calvin. Okay. That sounded all well and good at the time. But Calvin Ridley has been disastrous, feels strong, but he is certainly unreliable. And I said this today with Nate Washington, who you'll hear from here in just a second. I hate to just make it as reductive as you're paid a lot of money, you have to play better. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what it boils down to. And I think we're at the point with Calvin Ridley where there's so much more that he should have to give. And yet he just has not achieved in any way, shape, or form at this point. He's got 8 total receptions on the year. He's got 20 targets and has caught only 8 of those receptions. He was targeted 8 times against Denver. He caught 4 of those passes for 34 yards. He was targeted 6 times against the Rams. He caught only 3 of those passes for 38 yards. He was targeted 6 times against the Colts, who do not have an overwhelmingly strong secondary. He caught only 1 pass in that game. And obviously he is in a situation so the first game, 27 yards, the second game, 57 yards, last week, 27 yards on that 1 catch. So he's got 111 receptions 111 yards on 8 receptions. He's been targeted 20 times. He's only catching 40% of the passes that come his way. He has not been overwhelmingly explosive. Obviously, he does not have a reception over 27 yards at this point in time. And it is a concern because they need Calvin Ridley to be reliable. Cam Ward needs Calvin Ridley to be reliable. And thus far, they have gotten less reliability whatsoever out of this player who really we were counting on, or I think they were counting on, to be maybe not an outright cheat code for Cam Ward, but to at least be something, a weapon at Cam Ward's disposal that obviously has not yet manifested itself. So what is Calvin Ridley's biggest issue to you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch as you see it? Or what is the biggest issue that you have with Calvin Ridley, given his clear and obvious struggles at the start of last season that he was able to iron out a little more, but obviously they weren't winning football games and he wasn't making an impact on a meaningful football team. But to you, your Two Rivers Ford take is this. What is the biggest issue you have with Calvin Ridley so far in 2025? We'll talk about it together. You will hear from Tyke Tolbert, the wide receiver coach. You will hear from Nate Washington, the former Titans receiver who had very strong words for Calvin Ridley when we had.
Well, folks, this is what happens when Buck does not charge his laptop, is what I'm assuming happened.
I don't know what happened there. I think I just got disconnected. Thank you, Robert, for stalling. That was weird. I hope that doesn't happen again. Anyway, we will hear from Tyke Tolbert, the wide receiver coach, on the biggest issue for Calvin Ridley here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program and your Two Rivers Ford Take are made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service is what they offer you. They are also helping the community as we get towards the colder months in the holiday season with the Fill a Ford Food Drive. You go next time you're grocery shopping and you pick up a few extra non-perishable items, cereal, canned goods, canned veggies, soups, chili, things like that. You can bring them to Mount Juliet, 76 Belinda Parkway. You can drop them in the back of the Ford F-150 that's sitting in the lobby at Two Rivers Ford, and you can help support those in need this upcoming holiday season, this fall and this winter. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more details. What is Calvin Ridley's biggest issue at this point in time? Let's see. As we look at some of the comments, he said, damn, I wanted a Robert show tonight. I get it. You all are probably tired of me at this point in time. And there will be some reductive answers here, like Chosen simply says the drops for sure. And that's all well and good. Curtis says he lost his hands, which is another way of saying that he has the drops. Major Keys says he's not mentally here, which is crazy because Calvin was as refreshed and dialed in as I've seen him so far this offseason. And since then, obviously, there has been no dividends paid from that. Ann Herndon simply says that Calvin Ridley has got the yips. And I hate to boil it down to that, but Nate Washington, who obviously played for this franchise, who played wide receiver in the NFL for many years for the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, the Tennessee Titans, and then I think Nate had like a hot second with the Texans as well, maybe even the Jets, if I remember correctly. We have Nate Washington on every Thursday. He's really, really good. Perhaps Robert will do me the courtesy of dropping the YouTube link to today's interview with Nate Washington in the comment section for you all to be able to watch the full episode or the full interview today, as we have him each and every week. But this is a snippet from Nate talking about Calvin, because last week when Nate joined us, he said that Calvin Ridley desperately needed a quote-unquote reality check.
You know, I went and looked at the film again. I even kudos to the other reporters and those that are posting clips on Twitter, because regardless if they're posting the correct caption or not, it gives me the ability to see some things that I may not have seen before. And, you know, the number one thing that I come to a conclusion with this situation is this: I see a lack of confidence. His confidence is truly wavered. You know, the plays that I've seen are not only drops, but in a lot of times he's fading away from the ball. And when you have guys fading away from the ball, that means, you know, not having the confidence to attack it. It's telling me that you're just trying your best just to make a play. You're hoping and you're wishing that you can fall back from it and you can either tip it and you can make a couple catches, but it's not working out. And when I seen the tip pass when he was in the slot this weekend and the tip pass went and he dropped the tip, I said, oh man, I knew right then and there. I said, his confidence is wavered, you know. And being a player that has stood in front of the media before, you know, you want to say all of the right things. You want to say all of the, you know, I'm moving forward, I'm letting it go, you know, but you still got to go play the game. And if you're questioning yourself out there as not only a receiver, but a $96 million man with the captaincy on his chest, it is an end for disaster for you. You have to, what you say is what you preach. And you have to go out there and do exactly what you're talking about doing. You have to go out there and do those things, which is letting it go and moving forward. And I just don't think he's done that. You know, I think he's still carrying the weight of possibly being in this position before. He hasn't been in this position before in his career. And I can reflect on 2009 when I left Pittsburgh and came to the Titans after signing a big deal and being in Indianapolis. And I remember running a post route And man, I was wide open by myself. Nobody within maybe 10 yards of myself. And that ball went right through my hands. Whoosh, right? And I heard the crowd in the uproar and they were laughing and those things. And I remember after the game, we flew back home and I got off the plane and I was going to my car and I was almost ready to cry. And Jeff Fisher came up to me and said, Nate, listen, I see you have been carrying a lot of weight. Let it go and play the game that you've always known. And that conversation in that parking lot meant a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? It was allowing me to now mold myself into this new position that I hadn't been in and actually moving forward and producing into the career that I had with the Titans. And that's why I spoke previously on his connection with the coaches. I don't know if anyone's seeing him like that. I don't understand if this is going to continue, but whether it's him, whether it's someone in the locker room, a teammate, a coach, someone is going to have to help him get his confidence together because it's lacking.
So that's Nate Washington on the radio show. Curtis says, can we get a weekly Nate segment? We literally do a weekly Nate segment. We've been doing it since the preseason. So that's on you if you're late to the party. We do it every Thursday at 12:20 on the radio show. If you are not subscribed to the radio show's podcast, you can do that. If you are not subscribed to 104.5 The Zone on Twitter, you can do that. I talk to Nate every Thursday. Well, I talk to Nate a good bit, honestly, throughout the course of the week because I didn't have him as a player since I started covering the team. My first season was Marcus Mariota, but I've always had a good relationship with Nate Washington. I've always really appreciated his insights. And so when he agreed to be a weekly part of the radio show, I was very grateful, just in the same way that I am with Ben Jones, who is a weekly part of the radio show on Mondays, and Brett Kern, who hangs out with us twice a week as well. So, yeah, if you didn't know that we're doing weekly Nate segments, that's on you. Keep up. All right. So with all of the different things that are going on there, confidence is the thing that is a huge problem for Calvin Ridley, because that's something that only really he can fix. That's not something that he can have somebody else help him with, right? That's an internal battle that he's fighting. And normally I wouldn't make a big deal out of it. And I want to get you guys out of here because Thursday Night Football just kicked off officially with the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Cardinals at home. I'm looking forward to Arizona is one of the three stadiums that I have yet to check off my list. But I really like those uniforms, as a matter of fact. I'm not a big uniform person to begin with, but those are pretty sick. Anyway, want to get you guys back in time to watch this, but I wouldn't make a big deal out of it if his coach didn't also say it was a confidence issue. And I'm not talking about Brian Callahan, who has confidence issues of his own at this point in time. I'm talking about Tyke Tolbert, his wide receiver coach, and you'll hear from Tyke right after I remind you that Simon Says Nashville is where you should go. I think I'm going to pay them a visit tomorrow. I think I could use some new clothes before I head out to Houston, Arizona, and Vegas for the next 3 weeks, and I'm going to stop in there because, like you, I need to dress better. And Simon Says Nashville always hooks me up to make sure that I'm looking my best, so I'm feeling my best. They are the premier men's clothing spot here in Nashville, Tennessee. They are in Wedgwood, Houston. You can go online to their website at simonsaysnashville.com, and they will put you in position to succeed. Here's Tyke Tolbert talking about Calvin Ridley's confidence issues.
That he is. Just keep getting more reps, and that's what he does. Rid catches more balls than anybody every single day, whether it's before practice with Jugs, or during practice with special teams when everybody else on special teams. For practice, we target him more than anybody. So just keep working through it. During my individual drills, I do a lot of drills with balls and contact catches and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Just getting just more used to it, but just more reps and get his confidence back.
And then when you look at last year, he started working with John Shaw a little bit extra, and the results showed immediately. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you might encourage him to do this year?
Yeah, I think Rid knows exactly what he needs to do. He's got to go out there and do it. He'll be the first to tell you he's got to make more plays. But I think he knows what to do, and we try to surround him with the resources to do it with, whether it's the tennis balls, every day catching with
the lobster.
I have the some special made glasses that you can barely see out of him that he catches with those tennis balls. So he does that. Again, he catches on the Jugs all the time. Just keep working, and he'll bounce back.
So that's Tyke Tolbert speaking today, and he brings up these specialty glasses that he has had designed for Calvin Ridley. Look at this shit. When have you ever seen a $92 million player require what are essentially, I mean, Robert, how would I describe those? But human horse blinders is what they have on Calvin Ridley. And I'm not familiar with the Deadeye.net, which has the branding there. I assume that there are other tools out there at a coach's disposal or at a wide receiver coach's disposal that would help players prepare. But I can't imagine a 30-year-old player, a 7-year vet at the wide receiver position needing to resort to human horse blinders to get to help him catch the football. It's bizarre. But whatever they need to do to get him to do his job better, I guess do what you need to. But imagine, I know what football locker rooms are like, not just because I have been in one every Wednesday, Thursday, and most Fridays for the past 10 years with an NFL team covering a football team, and then in the locker room Sundays after games. But if you played any level of football, you understand that the football locker room, or any locker room where your teammates are going to be prone to giving you a hard time or going to pick on things in good-natured fun. Imagine you're a professional NFL football player. You walk into the locker room wearing those bug-eye glasses, those human horse blinders, and what your teammates are going to have to say to you. I mean, it's insane. It really is insane. But whatever they need to do to get him operating at a higher level, go ahead and do it. Because Cam Ward, again, all of these things, Calvin Ridley is not going to, I mean, I don't know that definitively, but it is more likely than not that Calvin Ridley is not on the Tennessee Titans roster in 2026. Because they can get out from under his contract, and he was signed by a previous GM, and we know a lot of things about this current GM, and that he wants his players, not Rand Carthon's, or at least not a lot of Rand Carthon's at this point in time. Calvin Ridley feels like the next one because they wouldn't be able to trade him for the way that he's playing right now, with catching 40% of his passes in the contract that he has and the cap hit that he has. It's way bigger this year than it was last year. Whatever they have to do to get him operating at a higher level, because this is about Cam Ward. Cam Ward needs him, and he's not doing his job well enough. And he's been accountable, to his credit, but at a certain point, it's enough of my bad. Just go do the thing. All right, we'll get you guys out of here and enjoy Thursday Night Football. The Seahawks are getting ready for their first offensive possession. I'm looking forward to watching Sam Darnold. I haven't seen a ton of him with the Seahawks this year, so I don't want to keep you guys either. Quick question: who needs to bounce back most this weekend? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. In the comment section is where you get involved. While you guys tell me who your bounce back candidates are, I will tell you where I'm going to be tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Trim F at 7:15 a.m. Worth Campbell actually just texted me. 7:15 a.m. is when I'm going in for Arm Farm Friday. You can get your workout in too. You can get your first workout free at True Mav Fitness. That's what they offer you. They know once you try it, you'll be hooked. I genuinely, it sounds like a douchey thing to say, but I'm addicted to working out now. I love going to the gym. I love going in on Fridays. I love, it just makes me feel infinitely better. And obviously that's the cortisol boost that comes from working out as well, but it just helps me in every phase of my life. And especially when I got some extra aggression to work out like I did last night with you guys on prime time, it's a much more productive use of time for me to go to the gym and get a good workout in. And True Mav Fitness has helped me accomplish exactly that. They can do the same for you and help you reach your fitness goals, no matter what your level of fitness is. That's TrueMavFitness.com. All right, who needs to bounce back in sports this week? Let me know, and we will talk about it together. I will tell you that the Titans need to bounce back, and I don't mean on the football field, although obviously they could stand to get a win. They need to bounce back because they made shitty decisions this week. And Jarvis Brownley, I don't see the video in here, Robert, but that's okay. Jarvis Brownley spoke to the media for the first time today. The New York Jets, the new New York Jets corner, who the Titans gave away for no other reason than they wanted to play Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker want to play their guys. Jarvis Brownley is not their guy. Jarvis Brownley has never been a locker room issue. I know there was a lot of mudslinging yesterday from previous draft cycle quotes that aren't really relevant, frankly, to the current situation. I know that Jarvis Brownley was not a perfect individual or a perfect messenger on this front, but the Titans were wrong to do what they did because they don't want to deal with him and they want to be the guy who finds the next Jarvis Brownley. Well, they didn't get any good draft capital back for him, and I'm not going to yell and scream about that again the way that I did last night. Instead, I'm just going to let you hear from Jarvis Brownley because the Titans did a dumb thing in the front office this week, made their coach answer for it after the fact, and now the Jets have a quality depth player, if nothing else, to make their roster better and not yours.
Say was I surprised? Yeah, absolutely. I was only there for a year. I think I played great ball, and I was actually asleep. So when I got the call, I was a little bit hurt, unbelievable, but things happen.
So they never gave him an explanation. He wasn't informed by them until after the fact. It sounds like Snead informed him first, is what he said, based on finding the information out on Twitter. So I continue to think that it was a stupid decision. I think that the Titans organization has made a great many stupid decisions in the last couple of years. It's why they are as bad as they are. And giving away a player who could at least be quality depth for you as you try to build up around it, somebody who doesn't get paid a lot of money, somebody who you seemed to have found some level of value in and then got lesser value for. They are probably not done moving players like Jarvis Brownley. We'll see how much worse it gets. The trade deadline is quite some time away, at least a month away at this point. I think it's right after Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. But it's stupid. It's real stupid. And there's really not much defending it other than they need to be better. And I've said that for 3 years, and they don't get better because they do dumb shit.
And my bounce back candidate is our armed forces Army getting their shit stomped out by ECU right now, 21-0 on ESPN.
Whoa.
Tune in. They just caused a fumble. They're about to call the National Guard to Greenville right now because they're kicking the shit out of the Army.
They're not too busy in Memphis or Chicago cleaning up crime, the National Guard. Cleaning up crime. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. We appreciate your participation. Radio show tomorrow. Come hang out with us. Brett Kern will be on the show. Coach Dave McGinnis will be on the show. We will talk about the Vols and Mississippi State. That's a fun game. We will talk about the Titans and the Texans, I suppose. And we will look forward to getting through. I hate to say getting through another football weekend because it's just a great college football weekend. And I hate that it's going to be capped off for many of you by a winless Titans team at a winless Texans team, which does not necessarily bring about good football. But here's something that Lucas told me today on the air that I couldn't believe. The Titans played the Texans in Week 12 last year. That was at the end of November. That is the last place that the Tennessee Titans won a football game. November 2024 in Houston, with Will Levis throwing a pick six and with Damian Pierce returning a kickoff for 80 yards because Cedric Gray missed a tackle. They somehow won that football game. And then they didn't win any football games after that. In fact, they lost all of the football games after that. They've continued losing into 2025. I cannot believe that they have not won a game since Week 12 of last year. And I can't because they're awful, and they continue to be awful. But it's still pretty shocking. So maybe you bring back some of that magic. Although, I don't know. If you're a Titans fan, I would have conflicted feelings about winning that game because if you win that game, does Brian Callahan stay? If you lose that game, if you win that game, does that fix all the problems with your team that should allow Brian Callahan to stay? I don't know. It depends on how you feel about the coaching situation. And I think at the end of the year he's fired anyway. But I don't know if you wanted to root for draft picks at this point. I know it's only Week 4, but you need players. You need players and you need better coaching. You need better everything. You need a better football team, a better franchise, because this franchise is rotten and has been for some time. And the only way to fix that is to get better football players to win so it can cover up some of the rottenness that's still going to exist anyway, but winning makes things a lot easier. And just give us something else to talk about other than how stupid you are on a week-by-week basis. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. Come hang out.
When you hear the crowd chirp on the home team like that, just in general, not necessarily here specifically, is there a blood in the water type mentality for you guys? I mean, every team, every coach, they're all